And welcome to this Degenerate Friday edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForest. Very happy to have you guys along for the ride. The finals are set. Go back to, I believe it was Rocky 1 after the sensational, hellacious 15-round bloodbath that Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed staged, raging and waging war the entire time. And I think it was Creed kind of leaned in there to Rocky Balboa as they were embracing after the fight and said, "Ain't going to be no rematch." To which Balboa replied, "I want one." But there is a rematch in the NHL. It's happening. Edmonton clinching last night over the Dallas Stars, knocking the favorite, the pre-tournament favorite, out of the tournament, and the chase for the Stanley Cup. So they'll take on the Florida Panthers, who had prevailed over Carolina the previous evening in a rematch of what turned out to be somewhat of a classic 7-game series last year. We welcome into the show the professor, who, as you know, if you've been following the program, is a huge, I don't know of a more diehard hockey fan or you don't even like Canada.
Yeah,
At
go
this point.
Panthers.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, that's our hometown team. Now 3 straight
I mean,
Stanley.
I'm torn on the one hand because I hate Canadian soccer.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it is a chance to once again destroy the hopes and dreams of the nation of Canada. I mean, you could tell, like, you watch ESPN, you watch the TNT coverage, like, there is genuine animosity between the nation of Canada and the fact that it is now the 6th year in a row a team from the state of Florida is in the finals for the NHL. You got the guy, uh, Bizinet. Is that how you pronounce it? The guy who's on TNT, the former player,
Yes.
complaining about they need to calculate states with no income tax, with no state income tax into the collective bargaining agreement because it's unfair. Look, it's not our fault that Canada takes 3/4 of your money if you choose to play for a Canadian team. Yeah, if all of that was true, wouldn't the Panthers not have been terrible for the first? Again, I had to look it up today. It was actually longer ago than I thought. It was 10 years ago, the 10th anniversary season of the Florida Panthers giving away tickets if you brought in a losing lottery scratcher. Do you remember that promotion a decade ago? We had a lot of fun with it at the time. But you could literally bring losing lotteries already scratched, and like you suck, you're a loser, stop buying these. You could go trade those for Florida Panthers tickets 10 years ago.
Yes. They were a little desperate.
I was talking about it with our buddy CJ the other day, and like on the one hand, like the Florida Panthers, I think give hope to really any franchise in professional sports because you have to fathom how big a joke this franchise was for 30 years. And now 3 finals in a row, hopefully back-to-back Stanley Cups. I guess we'll see. Edmonton appears to be on a roll again, but they were on a roll coming into the finals last year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I really am trying. I tried last year. I'm trying again.
You're
I
just not.
can't get everything about it. The game is not good television. It's bad TV. It really is. And the traditions are also stupid. Like the one thing that actually brought fear into my heart is I'm watching I can't remember, it's probably TNT's promo because I think TNT is broadcasting the finals. And they bring out that creep with the white gloves again. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh my God, the guy with his
he's a
molester glove
strange kid. The guy
is
with the
going to be
Stanley Cup.
back in South Florida again
Right.
for a week. Like, oh God. And there's a chance he's going to be like here for like months afterwards, like he was last time. And like, I don't want that dude in town. I don't want
Imagine
that
that's your
guy in my
job.
state.
Is that the best and easiest job in all of sports, though? I mean, you
No.
do nothing but going to parties, and obviously,
And looking like a creep, sitting there in the corner with your
yeah,
cup, your little white gloves, because you're not allowed to touch the cup because tradition or some load of crap.
he looks like a
Like,
guy that would be a supporter of Michael Jackson at one of his sexual criminal trials.
right, exactly. It is
With
his
the
little
white
white
glove.
molester gloves. Like honestly, you're trying to party. You got some girls around. You have a good time. The drinks are flowing. Good music. I think there's this weirdo blonde guy in his white gloves sitting in the corner
Yeah,
watching the
with a
cup.
little silver
That would be
trophy in
just
the case.
creepy. That's like the plot to a horror
Yeah.
movie. Um,
And you're forced to try and like him because he's on every news
Mayo loves him.
station. Yeah,
Mayo's super into that guy.
yeah.
He knew his name and he was talking about his cleansing products. It's like, does a guy carry a
Does
bottle
that
of
job carry a pension? You would think, maybe so.
does he carry a bottle of, like, cup polish in his jacket pocket? Guy's like the
I mean,
creepy.
and then the players get the cup and they're spitting in it, and they're
Right.
putting tuna fish salad in it, peeing in it, taking it into the ocean, and this guy is still walking around with this thing with the
I
white
mean,
glove
the
like, "That's
first
gonna help the
24 hours
situation?"
after we got it last year,
Yeah.
the thing was at the elbow room.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
entire I don't know what
An
diseases you catch
unhinged dive
and
bar that's been here
yes,
forever.
that's like that again, they do great business, but it is the dirtiest, most
Yeah.
I don't know what bacteria you get just sitting on a seat in the elbow room. The cup was standing on the balcony for 24 consecutive hours when we got it. Like, no. Like, I
And this guy
try to
puts
get
it
it.
back in the case.
I have tried to get into hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you and Luby this morning talking about like, oh, it's much more compelling television than the NBA, and I'm not defending what these NBA playoffs have been. They have been just god awful to watch. I mean, there's been a couple of games
Some
here and
decent
there.
games, but not that many.
I mean, Oklahoma City went and Denver went to 7 games, but most of it was not compelling television. Let's be honest. And this whole I don't know what to call it other than diving or flopping like that everybody's doing now. Like all the teams that have been on top are just SGA with Oklahoma City and Brunson in New York and Halliburton. Like it's not good TV, but it's still better TV than hockey. Like
See, I think you have to, watch, spot watch hockey a little bit, and especially the last couple of minutes of any game
I
are
do. And
absolute
the
insanity.
camera has no idea what is going on. It would
It
be
doesn't matter.
honestly
That's part of the fun.
It would be honestly like watching a college football game and the camera just stays on the left guard for the
Yeah,
entire play for no particular reason. This is the one we're locking into.
yeah.
And
When
it
people were taking, like, 16 millimeter films of their kids in the little league, and then they would pan away, and then you'd see, like, the wall of the school.
and honestly, this show you that I have watched more hockey than you'd expect.
Yeah,
The worst is watching Edmonton games because the camera will stay on McDavid while McDavid is on the bench drinking
yeah.
Gatorade.
You
Like you
scratch
hear
your
the crowd
almost.
go nuts because somebody's scoring. They're on Connor
Yeah.
sitting there with the water bottle because they don't know where the puck's going anyway. My problem with hockey is everything seems to be accidental. Like,
Well, the goals, yeah.
even like the big play, like the exciting play with the rush, it's always because somebody was like carrying it and then just forgot the puck, and like the other team swoops in.
Yeah.
And everything seems like it's an accident. You know, it's like watching little kids play pickup sticks. Like,
Off the
I
skate, off the
yeah.
guy's ass, through the goalie's legs.
Well, I mean, okay.
Still gets a stick on it, but it goes
I'm
in.
not ripping the game because I actually enjoy the game, in bars. It's like watching little kids play air hockey
Yeah.
where they just smash the ball against the puck against the wall and it crisscrosses
Arms around.
a few times
Yeah.
and hope it at the end caroms in. That's sort of what NHL hockey looks like to me. Like every play. Okay, and the Panthers do this probably as much as anybody I've seen. The whole dump it into this dump and chase thing. Like
Yes.
there'll be 3-on-2, and there'll be a dude coming down the middle and two guys on the wing, like every fast break ever. And the dude in the middle will just flip it into the corner and expect somebody to skate around from the other side and chase it. Like, is that what this sport is? That doesn't make any sense. Like, pass it
Well
to
well, what's great is when it
the
caroms all the way around, comes back out to the blue line, and there's a guy waiting for it as if it was a
right,
perfect pass from Magic Johnson, in the
so he
paint.
can smash it sort of at the goal and have it ping pong off four different things and
Yeah.
maybe go in.
Alright, so you won't be watching much of the final then, although,
I'll
there is
probably watch all of it because look, it's summer and the
yeah,
other choice is Major
not
League
much,
Baseball,
happening. Alright,
and
maybe
Major
you'll,
League Baseball is totally unwatchable at this point.
you might grow, more of an affinity for it. We'll see. Alright, and, baskets, the Knicks stay alive. You were speculating what? Dick Bavetta comes in? No, Scott
Scott
Foster.
Foster,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Bavetta being dead, it would be hard for him to officiate, but, maybe, in certain circumstances it works, but
I look. I honestly, to some degree, I guess I have the wrong impression of the Indiana Pacers because I don't think of them as that good a basketball team, but every time I watch them, they score 130 points, and I gotta like sort of step
Uh,
back and say, I guess they are kind of good. I don't know. And then the Knicks. As we have discussed, I do not have the rote South Florida thing where I just reflexively hate New York teams because they're
sure.
our rivals. Because like who the hell cares about the New York Knicks? But like I don't really understand Carl Anthony Towns. Every time he actually plays at the basket, the Knicks win. And then the next game, they let him go back and shoot another 15 3-pointers, and they lose.
Yeah.
And they somehow Tibbs never puts that together. Like if I were coaching the Knicks, I would have a shock collar on Carl Anthony Towns. Every time he left the post, I'd be like, "Zzz," like like a Labrador. I'd be just
Yeah.
butt zapping him. Get back in the paint. I
He was effective last night.
Again, when he has played in the paint, the Knicks have won the game, but he, despite being 7 feet tall,
Yeah.
does not want to do that. So, I mean, we'll see. I really,
Some unflattering words referring to female anatomy were applied by
yeah,
the
that's
other night about Carl Anthony Towns.
again, he wants to be called Big Purr because of the whole cat thing,
Yeah, but it
and
was more
everybody
of
calls him Big
another cat reference. Yeah.
P word. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
again, like yeah, he's a sissy. Like but so are a lot of bigs in basketball
Yeah.
these days. So I don't know what you do with that. I assume Indiana's going to win the series, but
That must drive Thibodeau crazy, though, because look, he appears to be an old school, hard ass type of guy that wants to see his big man in the paint. And the last thing he wants to see is, some kind of candy ass approach there where you're coming up the court late, you're the trailer on the play, and then you stop and pop a 30-footer while a bunch of Lilliputians run around trying to scramble for the rebound. That doesn't
I
exactly
mean,
work.
but within that, and I had a couple people ask me the other day because the Pacers. Okay, you had both at the time. You had both hockey series were 3-1, and the Pacers were up 3-1,
Right.
and both hockey series were somewhere around minus 1100. But the basketball series was only like minus 550 or minus 600. And I guess they give the Knicks a better chance and then I'm sitting there watching that game last night and thinking to myself, is it impossible that Indiana has two more bad shooting games in a row? I mean, the way they play
Anything
offense is
can happen, as they say.
feasible. I mean, so I don't think the Knicks are completely out of this. I don't completely rule out that they can go tomorrow night and get a win in Indiana and come back and win at home in game 7. I don't know that I think it's a likely scenario the way this series has gone, but I wouldn't completely rule it out of possibility. I put it this way: if I had bought, Indiana minus 550 or minus 600 ticket the other day, would I be feeling great about it right now? Not after last night. I mean, because again, if you shoot 43 pointers a game, anybody can have a bad shooting night on any given night, and they don't really have a lot of answers other than that. So
I
we'll see what happens.
This
And
Neesmith, who's been sensational, he scores 3 points in a game. Halliburton had 8. Knicks ate their lunch last night. So,
I mean, as they probably should,
yeah,
frankly. I mean, I I guess the Knicks are a little bit more versatile offensively in that they do have when Cat will play. They have a couple dudes who are more willing to go to the basket than Indiana. Halliburton will go to the basket, but he's not doing it to shoot. He's doing it to make plays.
right.
Usually winds up on a kick out 3-pointer. We'll see. I mean, I at 4, I don't think I'd bet the game. What would we say? At 3.5 or 4, I probably wouldn't bet the game one way or the other. Saturday. Um, I will say Aussie rules.
Yeah, yeah. So you're hitting again. Your Magpies trounce whoever they played by 50.
Yes,
So that was
51.
last night. Kept you up all night. 5:30
Yes.
post time for that. And then
Tonight,
you have a play coming up.
11:20 Eastern kickoff. It's 11:20 p.m., not 11:20 in the morning, which with the Aussie rules is very difficult. So we got Gold Coast playing Fremantle. Gold Coast laying, I believe it's 15 and a half. As we've talked about before in Aussie rules, that's not that big a number. That's actually sort of the equivalent of like a 7.5
Yeah.
in a football game. And we like Gold Coast, who is one of the surprise teams of the season, but really rolling, laying the 15 and a hook to Fremantle.
All right, let's do it because you had a very interesting interpretation of things that were happening at sea Uh,
Oh, we wanna do that? Okay.
yeah, can we do that? We want to at
Sure.
least get some of it in here because, yeah, it was fascinating, especially with the amount of attention that's being paid to the Stefan Diggs boat incident story. It's become a real source of concern for Mike Vrabel, which you had a very interesting theory
A
on that. But
very dumb story,
yeah,
and it's mostly a dumb story because Mike Vrabel's getting upset about it, and then there's a bunch of young people on Instagram who are upset because I guess Stephon Diggs is cheating on Cardi B,
yeah,
who's, like,
I don't know that, but that's the story.
famous for being a stripper and a rapper. Like, can you really cheat on a stripper?
Yeah.
Is that even a thing? But Mike Vrabel addressed it, and that's our number 5 story, Stephon Diggs, uh, because he was with other women on a boat in the off season, enjoying his time off. I don't really think I understand this. The main thing my main takeaway is the story is that when Mike Vrabel was a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, he once got arrested for stealing beer in a casino from the deli off the casino floor. He stole 8 bottles of beer and got arrested for it. I think if you somehow manage to get arrested for stealing beer from a casino, you can't say shit about anything to your players. You have committed the dumbest crime in the history of dumb crimes. You
They want
literally
you
got
to
arrested
take the beers. Yeah,
for stealing a product that you can tap any waitress on the casino floor. There's usually only about 300 of them walking around, and they're
right.
easy to find because they're the ones in bikini tops and mini skirts.
Yep.
Like, they want you to know who the waitresses are, and they will bring you free beer.
Yes.
So Mike Vrabel not only goes and steals a beer from the casino deli, but he steals 8 of them and gets arrested for it. It's the dumbest crime I've ever heard of. You shouldn't have anything to say about Stephon Diggs wanting to go party on a boat, other than maybe way to go, Stephon. You didn't get arrested for this.
Yeah, I mean, in spite of the fact that there were strange-looking small packages of
A
a
pink substance, like, but that was my thing. What is
vicious
pink?
substance, yeah.
Like, what, he ground up pink pixie sticks and handed up to the
I
girls?
don't
Like,
know, didn't people dye cocaine various colors at one time? No,
I bet
uh,
you.
as if you needed to add to the cut, but
I mean, honestly, I was like in the 7th grade when the '80s were going on here
yeah.
in South Florida. So if anybody would know of the two of us, it'd be you, Defo. You lived through the
Well,
period.
yeah, and then a guy would come around that was, particularly stoned out of his mind and say, "Oh man, you got to try this pink stuff." And you're thinking, when did they start making it pink? I don't know.
Yeah, I get, maybe it's like Frank Lucas with the blue magic. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway, all right. So Diggs' party caused a lot of concern in the Boston area, one of your favorite cities in the United States of
But I
America.
think it's stupid concern. Like, who
Yeah,
who cares if Stephon Diggs is partying on a Memorial Day weekend on a boat? Isn't that
and then
isn't
he's
that what you're
on
supposed to
Cardi
be doing
B.
on Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, no, that looked like a good place to be, no question. All right, that's number 5. Why are
By
people
the
mad
way, we
at
didn't
Diggs?
mention this is the big board of the dumbest boat-related
Yes.
stories in the history of sports. And that takes us to number 4, which has some local flair, which is Rob Conrad's dumb lie 10 years
Oh,
ago about falling off a boat while fishing in the middle of the night and then swimming 16 miles back to shore, where he was found. And didn't he wind up at like another boat dock somehow? You tell me he swam all the way back to shore and you still found a dock? Elion told a bit
no,
me.
no, he landed on some woman's backyard that had a beach house in Palm Beach.
Honestly, Elion told a more believable story than Ron Conrad, and it involved magical dolphins carrying
Yeah.
him to shore because Elion was the golden child.
Yeah.
And that was still more believable than the Rob Conrad story.
See, I believe it, and I was involved actually peripherally in both stories. Well, one personally with Rob Conrad because we were on a cruise, a football cruise, and we're in the Bahamas for a stopover, and we rented wave runners at the beach, and we literally did get lost. I mean, these are wave runners; they're watching you like a hawk. They got 30 other guys that can, make sure that you don't go out of the boundaries that they've gone ahead and outlined for you very clearly. And then we end up in some port somewhere with a bunch of Navy ships, what would seem like at least an hour away from where we started out. So we got lost there, and of course, this the guy, the fisherman who rescued Alien Gonzalez. I ended up buying his house shortly after that incident. Yeah,
All I
so
can
I
tell
was
you,
connected to both stories, but I believe Conrad. I mean, we got lost, and he was ready to dive into the water and swim
but
back
he
to
did,
shore with
right? He did. The,
Gretzky.
the thing is, if you were going to believe the Rob Conrad story, the end of your Rob Conrad story should be, and then he grabbed the tow rope in his
Yeah,
mouth like Jack LaLanne and swum
and swam back.
50 miles back to Atlantis or wherever the hell you were going from out of the Bahamas. Because
A 7 mile nighttime ocean swim does seem a bit far fetched. That a guy
right,
was able to navigate his way through that, no matter what kind of shape you were in. Conrad, by the way, was always the nicest of guys. He was a real gentleman. So
He seems like a great dude, and I really enjoyed him as a player for the Dolphins. I'm just saying, this story, let's just say far fetched
you would
in
think
my
more would be made of it, also, if it were true. Where I mean, it's
right. There'd be a
remarkable.
movie.
Yeah, you
There'd
would
be a
think.
movie where Rob Conrad carried Elion back from Cuba for the second time
I mean,
on
it's
his back.
a great self-rescue story if true, to be able to negotiate all of that and make your way 7 miles offshore, at nighttime in the Atlantic Ocean. Get out of here. You don't even wanna be 100 yards offshore. All right, that's number 4. Rob Conrad, 10 years later. You don't believe this
Number three, again, South Florida related, and that is Drew Rosenhaus's wife.
is
Almost causes the two of them to get divorced because she spends her time partying with Dan Bilzerian, the biggest douchebag in the history of the internet. For those of you who don't remember Dan Bilzerian, number one, good for you. And
Yeah.
number two, he was the king of Instagram about 10 years ago, where everybody was following his exploits on Instagram. This is the guy, by the way, who claimed he made upwards of $50 million a year playing poker, despite the fact that he has never made a dime playing tournament poker or televised poker. Um, and of course, comes from a family where his father was a corporate raider in the 1980s who did 10 years in prison for
Wow.
securities fraud, and who, by the way, whose money was never recovered, despite the fact that it's owned by Best. Really think maybe that's got something to do with why his kid has millions of dollars
A
on
little
Instagram?
bit
You
of
think
a
maybe,
credibility gap there. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, you really think maybe that might not have come from Daddy's slush fund in the iron? Well, apparently Drew Rosenhaus's wife did. But if you think either of these people are the stupidest people in this story, they're not, because Drew Rosenhaus filed for divorce after this story broke. And then when his divorce case finally got its court date, decided he wanted to reconcile with his wife after all. So, if you're cool with your wife hanging out with Dan Bilzerian on the party boat, yeah, and maybe not the soundest choice in my personal opinion. You know,
Yeah.
that seems like a time to break out the prenup to me. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that document looks like. Although I have seen since this incident, and I've known Drew for a long time, on at least a casual basis and professional, I guess, because he's always making news or in the news or calling reporters over so he can listen to the latest story about a player. And he seemed very happily. He was with his wife at a show I was at, and he seemed to be very, very happy with her together. So maybe that was one that worked out. That
If you're
he
okay with
overcame this douchebag syndrome that she seemed to be afflicted with.
If you're okay with Dan Bilzerian railing your wife on a boat on
Yeah,
Instagram, more power to you.
not
Everybody's
for
got their own relationships. All I'm saying is it wouldn't be for me.
yeah, yeah. And, it might be a deal breaker. All right, that's number 3. Number 2.
Number two, the New York Giants. I mean, like, there's just way too many dudes in jeans and heavy boots for a boat. Like, and if you're thinking, well, they're in New York, they're not used to going on boats. I remind you that Odell Beckham, who's right in the center here in black jeans and heavy work boots, is from New Orleans. Like, he grew up in Louisiana. He's been around boats his whole life.
Yeah.
And this is how he goes out on a party boat. And if you're wondering, well, well, it didn't impact the game, even though they lost their playoff game famously after this picture was taken. What if they fell in the water like Rob Conrad? You see what Odell Beckham's wearing? You're going to drown wearing that. You got to swim back to shore wearing blue jeans and those heavy ass shoes. Your legs are going to be tired for about 2 months afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, literally, it is. It's Joe Frazier going right to the bottom of the pool there on the Superstars. Were they surprised that they were going on a boat trip? Is that how this came about? Or
I mean, there's a lot of shirtless dudes. It looks like they at least prepared by taking their shirts off.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, very, very inappropriately dressed, and
Right.
also it's like 1,000 degrees on the deck of those boats when you're out here in South Florida water. So yeah, and not viewed very favorably by Giants management or fans since they didn't they get clobbered in their ensuing playoff game.
They did, I believe, by the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, but don't quote me on that.
All right, so that's number two. Number one on the list of dumb
Number
boat
one,
incidents.
if you're gonna get in trouble for a big boat party, if you're a pro athlete, do it right, like the Minnesota Vikings. Fred Smoot and the Love Boat, as it was known,
That's
which,
the way to go.
according to stories, featured as many as 30 Vikings players. It ended up 4 took a 1-game suspension. 15 were named finally in the team's investigation of the incident, and upwards of 100 strippers on 2 boats, including reports that the teammates performed sex acts with each other. Which, I mean, in front of each other, not with each other. Excuse me.
Yeah.
All I can say is I don't ever want to be that close with a teammate. Like,
No.
one of the Vikings' name, by the way, was to be future Miami Dolphin Dante Culpepper. Like,
Uh-huh.
if I'm Fred Smoot, I don't really need to see Dante get down with a stripper. I don't need to be that kind of teammate. I
No.
don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the bad locker room guy. But if part of being a good locker room guy is watching Dante Culpepper smash a stripper, I'm just going to take a hard pass on that.
But you can applaud the transparency there. I mean, that
I
certainly is
mean, look,
deserving of getting
Defo,
under
we're
wire.
friends. We got other
Yeah.
good friends. If like Luby calls me up and says, "Let's come to my gender reveal party," which he did last weekend,
Yep. Yep.
I'm like, "I'm there for you, Luby.
Yeah.
I will have a couple cocktails and watch you open a box where the balloon comes." By the way, congrats to Luby if he sees this
Yeah.
on a boy. I will do that. But if Luby calls you up and is like, "Oh, Defo and Mayo and the guys, we're all gonna go get a bunch of strippers and smash them in a boat," I'm like, No, I'm
I'll
not.
pass
I'm
to you. Yeah.
hard pass. I don't need to know you guys that well. I mean, we can be cool, but that's just it's not happening. It's not for me.
Almost rather go out on one of those party boats and go fishing where no one ever catches anything.
I'd rather go out on what was the guy's name? Gus whatever.
Yeah.
The guy Gus
Oh,
Buliakis.
Gus Poulos. Wow.
Yeah, I'd rather go
Well,
on his.
that was a sun cruise. Yeah, you were floating
I'd
on
rather go on one of his
strangers,
crooked
too.
ass casino boats
Yeah.
that got closed down like 5
Uh,
different times
uh,
for cheating.
well, the day I was trying to collect the 400 that I'd won in the since shut down sports book, where I had to go back out on a ship to try and get my
Oh
money
God, do you remember those
from
days?
Poulos himself. Yes, and sure enough, I was going to be introduced to Gus Poulos, who owned this floating cruise ship. They used to have the cruise to nowhere, go out to the 3 Mile Ocean Limited. You could gamble. And sure enough, as the guy's about to introduce me, he is in the most heated discussion, which did not appear to be going very much favorably in his direction, with 4 of the most intense looking Russian guys I think I've ever seen in my life. A week later, he got whacked. So I'm thinking, here I am, like I need the 4 sticks desperately, and I'm just hoping I can distract this guy from this meeting where they're probably discussing his death, his imminent passing. And, at the end of it, sure enough, the guy brings him over to where I was sitting and says, "Hey, can you take care of my friend?" And he gave me 4 black chips. And that was it. But
Well, this is how
they come a week
crazy.
later, it would have been too late.
This is how crazy casinos used to be in
Yeah,
Florida. Um, we're talking about this boat. There were like 9 of them up and down the southern coast.
sure.
The one in Key Largo only came back to refuel. They would take it out at like 3 o'clock in the morning. It would just sit there, and then they'd run a shuttle boat
Oh,
back and
to the boat.
forth all
Yeah,
day long
right.
from the dock on the Holiday Inn in Key Largo to the boat, and the boat would just sit there. Again, the only time the boat ever came in was for fuel,
Yeah, and if the
which
scenes were rough, you're thinking to yourself, "What kind of extreme am I going to, get clobbered in a casino that I have no chance in?" That happened to me in Venice. The Mustang and I were looking for something to do. It was like pouring out, so we end up taking a water taxi all the way. I mean, like miles to get to this European casino, which was nothing like anything that we had seen here. It was one of the strangest. It was more bizarre than walking into the Jamaica OTB parlor back in the day when they didn't have any
that's
screens
saying something.
broadcasting. Yeah, yeah. It's very strange. All right, we have to run. Always great, Professor. Brilliant job as always on the big board, and thanks so much. The Aussie rules picks continue to prosper for us. So we'll catch you again next week. Thanks for being with
Gold
us.
Coast, remember, folks.
Gold Coast, money line, points, the whole thing.
All right, you guys have a great one.
Thanks, the Professor, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's going to do it for us. A lot of fun being with you. We'll do it again on Monday with the next edition of Bury Your Bookie. Mike Jones will be joining me on that one. He's always fired up after a weekend and looking to get right back in action on a Monday morning. So we'll see you then. For the Professor, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for checking out Bury Your Bookie.